Good evening, Bhante and all Kalyana Mitra Sukhi Huntu. I'm Aliana and welcome once again to Sutta Discussion Day 71 by Bhante Dr. Gangudawila Chandima. Tonight class is the 22nd class of Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, and we are going to have the final review of the Sutta. Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta is the 5th Sutta from the total of 10 Suttas that have been chosen by Bhante Chandima for this Sutta discussion. For those who have missed our previous classes, please check on Ti-Ratana Vihara Amapadana Clang Facebook page and YouTube channel. We have uploaded the previous 70 classes there. Please be informed that there will be no Sutta discussion class on September 15 and September 29. Bhante will introduce the new Sutta on the September 22nd class. The Sutta discussion Zoom class is always open. Therefore, whoever that wish to join the class via Zoom, where we can engage directly with Bhante, can contact us on Ti-Ratana Vihara Amapadana Clang Facebook Messenger. We are always welcoming newcomers. Our speaker, Bhante Dr. Gangudawila Chandima, is the Associate Editor of the Journal of International Buddhist Studies, or JIBS, which is published by the Buddhist Research Institute of Mahachulalongkorn Raja Vidyalaya University in Thailand. He has previously research fellow at the Center for Studies in Religion and Society, or CSRS, University of Victoria, Canada. Bhante Dr. Chandima was also a Theravada Buddhist chaplain at the University of British Columbia, Vancouver, Canada, from year 2012 till 2016. Bhante is currently the Senior Advisor to Sutta, a virtual Dharma organization that hosts a weekly online Pali reading class, Sutta discussion, Dharma talks, and a variety of other Dharma activities. His Dharma works can be accessed at patisota.blogspot.com. Without further ado, we welcome once again Bhante, and thank you very much for the wonderful talk. Sadhu.
Thank you, Aliana, for the introduction, as always. Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to TRV Sutta Study Day 71st.
Good evening, Bhante.
Yeah. So today we will be doing the final review for the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, which we've been discussing for almost 22 classes, right? 22 classes will span over, I think, almost more than 4 months, right? So it's the big day. So prepare to answer some questions. Okay, so before we get in there, let's respect the book. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tasse bhagavatu arahatu samma sambuddhassa. Namo tasse bhagavatu arahatu samma sambuddhassa. Namo tasse bhagavatu arahatu samma sambuddhassa.
We start class in March, so it's 6 months. March, April, May, June, July, August, September. 6 months. We started the Dhammacakkappavattana one.
Was it the 22nd,
Yeah,
22nd class today? Sister Aliana, it's the 22nd, right? 22nd, so it will be
17.
yeah,
But
almost
we start on the 17th, Bhante, 17th of March. Maybe
Yeah.
17th on March. Okay,
Yeah.
spanned over. Sometimes we had to postpone because of some of the days. Yeah. It's almost 6 months. 6 months of time that you should be very much equipped with the knowledge and the understanding by now. Yes. Right. Let's go to the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. Today I will get to know what you learn from the Sutta. Not that I talk a lot. So let's see. Okay. Oh, today we have Sister Liana, Bhante, Lim, Kim, Na, Barbara, Kelvin, who be Lim, Emma. The nice thing is that I met all of you in my trip. Different places, sometimes more than a couple of times. Yes, so happy to see all of you once again here. Okay, so Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, Samyutta Nikaya 5611. I think we started the sutta in a way saying that why it was given to another, like a place where some of the very connected suttas were included. Why it was not the first sutta in the canon, Tipitaka, Pali text, right? It was going to what you call Samyutta Nikaya. Don't worry about these names, right? I'm just trying to say that when it was textualized, when it was compiled as a set of books, it was given to Samyutta Nikaya. That means the order is not the order of how the Buddha gave Dhamma talks. So the order was pretty much based on different topics, maybe easy memorization, maybe the size, maybe the people. So that is how it was mostly compiled, and as we can see here. So in that case, Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta was going to Samyutta Nikaya, which is not the first book of the Sutta Pitaka. And we understood these 5 ascetics. That is how Prince Siddhartha, ascetic Siddhartha, had to practice 2 extremes. One extreme he practiced before he became an ascetic. After that, he practiced Atta-Kilamatanu Yoga, right? Before I jump into the rest, let me ask you, each of you, what did you learn about the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta as a whole, as a summary? What did you understand? Because Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta is very famous among Buddhists, especially Theravada Buddhists. They have different thoughts about it. Like some people say this is the first sutta, which holds the truth. At the same time, they say they only know some of the fundamental things, maybe historical things. But after we learned all these aspects, how would you describe to somebody about this sutta? Probably what makes you different from them to explain this sutta to somebody. Yeah. What is chakka here? Chakka. Chakka.
The wheel,
The wheel. What chakka is that? A lot of
the
wheels.
wheel of Dhamma.
The wheel of Dhamma. Why Dhamma was given to a wheel? Was there any other examples to give? Wheel is wheel could be given in the sense of a very different context, right? Why the Buddha took wheel to talk about Dhamma?
Because it keeps rolling forever and ever.
A wheel keeps rolling, but where? For whom?
For all of mankind.
For the mankind.
Same. Is it 3 perspectives and 12-fold aspects?
Kim has the best point, huh? See? She memorized that part. Ti-Ratana dvadasakara. We understood that the idea of the Dhammacakka has connections to the Ti-Ratana dvadasakara. Actually, this is the most important part of the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, because you understand the Four Noble Truths everywhere in the Buddhist canon, but you may have not heard the Four Noble Truths through the Ti-Ratana and Dwadasakala. Ti-Ratana means there are 3 types of, what do you call it?
Perspective.
Perspectives and 12 aspects. You can
12
see
full
here. You can go again. Oh, what's that? Yeah, this one. Yes. So you can see Ti-Ratana. There are 3 perspectives to each truth. And then there are 12 aspects to those 3. I would say to each noble truth. So now you can see what over there. What is a circle, right? This is one very important aspect of the Dhamma wheel. Because, as Brother Wu mentioned, yes, now it is said that the Buddha turned the wheel in motion or set the wheel in motion, right? So that the Dhamma can spread over to all places in the universe, not even to the humankind, right? If you say humankind, then what about the Brahmas? What about the Devas? Right? So to everybody, to every being. That is one very good idea, it has to go. The Buddha even said to monks, 2 monks should not go to one place. They have to go to 2 places. Ma ekena dve agamit. That means Dhamma has to spread. Because all these monks are, wandering around the same place with the same community of people, right? If they can go across the continent, then the message will go over to those places. At that time, Ma ekena dve agamit. Do not, 2 monks should not walk on one particular road. They can spread around. They can walk, maybe they can travel to 2 different places. So in that perspective, yes, I mean, it's a wheel. But unfortunately, the idea of the Dhamma wheel has been misunderstood by the Buddhist culture. So they created, I mean, I understand that, or you understand too, that the idea that the wheel, Dhamma wheel can go to all these places has been misconstrued by designing the Dhamma wheel to have some spokes that have come out of the wheel, right? You can see here in many places, if you type Dhamma wheel, you can see how the Dhamma wheel was normally, see, this has been kind of an anchor in a ship, right? But this Dhamma wheel has the possibility or potential to, set in motion. What about these ones? This one, see? It's like the Saranath one. That's proper. So that means the Buddhist cultures, see this one too. Yeah, Dhamma wheel. It's a proper Dhamma wheel. Yeah. It is like the Buddha statue, right? Now, Buddha statue has different versions. Some people ask me why Buddha asks us to shave the hair, but how come he has a lot of hair? Not the Buddha himself. It is not the Buddha's issue. It is the issue of the sculpturing people in Gandhara and Mathura. The Buddha asking monks to wear orange color or something, but why he is wearing a white color robe? Are there white color robes?
No.
How come the Buddha statue is white? If you give some thoughts to yourself, then, oh, something wrong over here. What's wrong? Then people might say, no. When we see a white color Buddha statue, our mind gets calm. Better than seeing an orange color Buddha statue. It is how people look at it, When you look at a orange color, I would say red color, that kind of a Buddha statue, some people might think that doesn't calm them. So there are issues that we have to understand. How was it supposed to have at the time? And how did the later Buddhists perceive in different other centuries? All right, so one idea is that Dhamma wheel is a wheel, that it had the potential of going to many places in the universe so that many people got benefit from that. Second is, the most important one is what Kim mentioned as we discussed in our discussions, Ti-Ratana Dwadasakara. Because this, the teaching of the noble truth has to be understood through Ti-Ratana Dwadasakara. And you can see that Ti-Ratana has this circular perspective, this wheel perspective. Dhammacakkappavattana. Pavattana means, how did the Buddha set that Dhamma wheel in motion? All right, any other very highlights, important highlights of the sutta? Let's go back to the sutta here. All right, so we started from here. Now we understood in the first section that the Buddha asking monks not to practice two extreme paths. What are they?
Sensual indulgence and self-motivation.
What is sensual indulgence?
Enjoyment.
We discuss in a very different way. Sensual indulgence.
Happiness, sensual pleasures.
Enjoyment.
Clinging to practice.
Clinging to
Sensual indulgence.
sensual pleasures.
Pleasure.
Right? And this was given to, was this given to lay people or to monks?
Monk.
Let's see how it was given. Dve me bhikkhave anta pabbajite nanase. Pabbajite. Pabbajite means someone who became a monk. That has to be understood. Lay people have to understand this separately. I mean, let's say you might practice in your own way. You might practice by incorporating these two in your own way, but it was primarily given to monks and nuns. I would say ordained people, ordained monks. Then there are two, Kama Sukhallikanu Yoga and Atta Kilamatanu Yoga. Kama Sukhallikanu Yoga, clinging to sensual pleasures. As lay people, are you supposed to enjoy sensual pleasures?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
Yes.
Be honest about it. Be very honest. You know, the Dhamma path is an honest practice. It is not just arguing Dhamma things with somebody or discussing Dhamma things. It's an honest practice. It is the practice of the heart, not the practice of the mind. Right? Mind, you use the mind to understand, but then you have to bring it to the heart.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it will be a knowledge. If we only, I always mention that. So, clinging to sensual pleasure, that means as lay people, you can enjoy your sensual comfort. But for the monastics, there's a different version. So, they are not supposed to, in this context, not supposed to enjoy sensual pleasures in that perspective. But at the same time, they are not supposed to ever cling to them. Because if they are going to cling to them at any point, then they are going into Kamasukhallikanu Yoga. In other words, this is a clear and easy way to understand the nature of a bhikkhu, bhikkhuni practice. This is how even, this is a self-check for them and also a check for you. How are bhikkhu, bhikkhuni supposed to spend their practice? Now, if you look at the other side, Atta Kilamatana Yoga. Atta Kilamatana Yoga means
Mortification.
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 Yeah, there are
Self-mortification.
many very beautiful words of this, you know, self-mortification, austere path. The beautiful, sometimes complicated words. In short, Atta Kilamatana Yoga means
giving a lot of body pain and
giving lots of pain to the body in search of
Removing.
finding the truth. The Buddha said we should never give pain to the body. How do people, how does someone give pain to the body? In what practice?
Torture yourself.
Primarily. No, in Buddhism it says Atta Kilamatani Yoga is not good. So then how does someone give pain to oneself? What are the practices that can be used to give pain to the body?
Sitting cross-legged on the floor.
Really?
I cannot.
Is
I
it
think
called
that is, no, I mean primarily how does someone give pain to oneself?
Self-mortification.
Yeah, this is what we are discussing. Sila. Number one, Sila. Sila is the practice where people primarily give a lot of pain to the body. Why do I say so? At that time in India, the Jains, they were giving lots of pain to the body. They don't take a shower for 7-10 years. Is it a good idea? They don't take a shower for 10-12 years. So they say their level of dirt was like a pillar. They were piled up like a pillar. They never wanted to touch it. Even the Prince Siddhartha did that. We see in the Sutta, one Sutta. And then being naked, giving lots of practicing sila. Do not wear the clothes, because they thought if you wear the clothes, you may have attachment to the clothes. So they said, let's be naked. It's better than being get dressed. Nowadays, some of the people doing that in some countries. Let's be naked. It's a sila. I mean, atta kilamatanu, painful sila. What about other things they did? Like in the hot sun, they making fire, and then they are trying to expose to that fire. One day, Buddha was going around this place where some Jains doing a lot of very extreme practices. Then the Buddha asked, "What are you doing over here? Now, that the sun is very scorching, and then why you have set a fire over here? Why? What are you doing?" Then they said to the Buddha, "Now we are going to liberate at any time." Then the Buddha asked, "What is the connection of the liberation and to this fire thing?" Then they said, the more pain you give to the body, and then the closer you are to the liberation. And that's how it works. That when you give pain to the body, the bad karma you are going to suffer in the next life or next couple of lives, you are now suffering, you are paying back with the bad karma. Then the Buddha asked a very funny question. You know how much bad karma you have already paid off? No idea about it. No idea about that. Right. So that is Atta Kilamatana. Now, how do some people in the Buddhist communities practice this? If they are going to give lots of pain to the body, like Barbara mentioned. Now in your understanding, sitting cross-legged might not be an easy practice. So some people, there are people who can do that. But we are not disrespecting anybody who are doing that practice. Like we did that in our retreat, definitely. In our retreats, we do that. But some people cannot for medical reasons. Maybe they can't do that. Maybe they have other issues. But the most important thing is not that somebody is able to sit cross-legged. Because in India, a lot of Hindus, a lot of tapasas, they are always sitting cross-legged. But did it give them any Nibbana? They did not attain Nibbana just because they sat cross-legged. But they only attain jhanas. Jhanas are expiring. They only like jhanas, absorption, samatha meditation. So the most important thing is that not trying so much hard about any practice in Buddhism, which whatever you know, but trying to cultivate your mind. Now, if you are somebody who is always there, oh, it's very painful for me, I can't do this, then you are creating lots of, sometimes lots of pain. Pain has hatred. You are hating the position, right? Maybe you are looking around, oh, other people can sit cross-legged. What happened to me, right? So the peer pressure coming over to you, right? Can other people take me to my Nibbana? No, they are not taking me to my Nibbana. They are doing their Nibbana path. Then I have to find my own customized path. In that path, what I say, as a formal sitting posture, if somebody can sit down, that alone might not help anybody to cultivate kusala practices. Because how come you practice any meditation if you feel a lot of pain in your body? Right? You focus on the body at that point. If you are a enlightened person, Sotapanna person, then you can think about, oh, this pain is anicca dukkha, but you can't do that. At that point, don't worry. If you cannot do that, you simply focus on the cultivation of the kusala thoughts. Whatever the posture we are in, we should be able to practice, cultivate dana, metta, panya. Even though you sit cross-legged, but if you cannot cultivate your mind, that is a useless practice. You are wasting your time in the temple or in your house. So cultivating the thoughts is the most important thing, whatever the position you are. Let's say you are walking, you are talking, you are driving, you are doing daily chores. If you can bring your thoughts to kusala, dana, metta, panya, then you are very good. And your nibbanic moment is not that far. This is what we learn here. So according to the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, what we understand is that the nature of our spiritual journey, our Dhamma journey, should avoid indulging in sensual pleasures and giving pain to the body. And we have to find out our Dhamma path, maybe a meditation, maybe a sila practice, maybe a dana practice, maybe any other good, XYZ practices, from which we are not falling into either extreme cases. I want to ask you whether you have seen anybody in your, don't mention any names. Have you seen some people, maybe some people in your own observation who have gone to Kamasukalikani Yoga and who have gone to Attakilamattana Yoga, but they are still trying to practice Dhamma thing. Have you ever noticed that? Observe? Any thoughts? Now we all practice Dhamma, right? Now you go to the temple, you do your puja at home, you go listen to Dhamma talks, you go to chanting places, and you go participate in some of the ceremonies. I think they all are part of our spiritual journey, Dhamma journey, right? So then are we really free from these two extremes in our Dhamma journey? Attakilamattana Yoga and Kamasukalikani Yoga. What do you think about it? Let's bring this idea to our spiritual life. We know this is only exclusively given to bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, but if we take the nature of these two, I think we can sort of think about it by putting them into our practice. Are you someone who only thinks that there is only one way that you can cultivate your thoughts?
Okay, Bhante, can I answer?
Yes.
No, I don't think it's so much as in extremes, like what the yogis in the Buddha's time did, like holding the breath until the head almost bursts, or this kind of other extremes. But then one extreme I notice is some of the those who go to retreats will go one after another, and they come back from a retreat. After a few days, they will go for another retreat. So in 1 year, they will go at least 5 to 6 times of retreats. Sometimes 1 month retreat and all that. So I thought at that time I was still new. I realized that you're not giving yourself time to be out with the community, and to practice what you have learned, like Kanti and all that. So I thought it was a bit futile. I was so not so good in it, but I just felt that way. Is it correct?
I think you have brought a very interesting dimension. We are not We are not telling going to a retreat is bad. Definitely it's a good
Yeah.
idea. But you know what? Not even the retreat. Say for instance, any other thing. If you are going to the temple only for the chanting, every day you are only going for the chanting. You are not listening to a Dhamma talk. You are not practicing meditation. You are not transferring good karma to the departed ones. You are not with Kalyana Mitra. So you are only doing one thing over and over. It's like, then what can happen is that can take us to being a person who has no time to reflection. I think, as you mentioned, you have to decide how many retreats are you planning to go. This is important because you should have more time to reflection. If you are not having, enough time for the reflection, you are just keep going to these places, right? So that is a good point. I can't say it's futile. I would say it might not work. You are just going to places only. Because a lot of people think I have to go out of my house to find my peace. This is the main narrative that they have. Okay, okay, I'm gonna go for 10 days because house, so much work at home. Maybe it's like not trying to see their Dhamma path in the correct way, rather than trying to escape from the worries and troubles. Right? You can't escape from worries and trouble, rather than you understand worries and troubles, and then to develop your thoughts about it. So I think it's a very good idea. I mean, if you take retreats in particular, and plus when you go to couple retreats, what you are hearing could be totally different things from different people. And then you have no time to process all these things, right? So I always know lately here at this place, somebody asked me a question in a Sutta study, a Mandi Sutta study, Bhante, I find a particular Dhamma matter was explained by two Dhamma speakers too differently. And then he's asking me, what do I think about it? Then I asked, did you read the original text before asking this question? Now you are asking, somebody told like this and somebody else told like this. You are asking my opinion. Then he said, no. Then I said, it is a very dangerous thing just to listen to somebody and then to listen to somebody else on the same matter without having even a certain scanning of the text, even the translation. Then he said translations can be erroneous. Then what about the talks of the people? They can be more erroneous. Where are they basing their stuff? Where are they basing their Dhamma talks? I said, please read the text as much as possible. Consult a good Dhamma teacher. Then only you think about, reflect what he is saying, what she is saying, what is going on, what is your experience about it. Then you have a better understanding about it. So the problem is people go here, like a zigzag road, they get a lot of information. There is no place to feed, no place to process. And then finally, they're becoming somebody like a computer. Right? Computer can still maintain. But when computer has no enough memory, no storage. You have to format it, reprogram the computer. Yes, so I think it's better to give some thoughts, how many retreats I'm attending a year, and then how much time I'm giving for my reflection part. It's very important. Reflection happens with my experience, my personal life, my Kalyana Mitras and all that. And you know what? Most of the Dhamma things we learn from Dhamma talks, Dhamma books. Now, I don't think a lot of people read Dhamma books, Dhamma talks and all these things. They need lots of, space from the Kalyana Mitras. So, Kalyana Mitras support to understand. That means when you are with Kalyana Mitras, you are easy to understand what you learn from different places. So, I think it is good to give more time for reflection and then planning your retreat schedule, planning your other things schedule, not even the retreats. If you go for chanting too much, If you do anything too much, then you have to plan ahead well about how you're going to make this in a proper way. I think it's a very relevant, appropriate idea. Mhm.
Yeah, Bhante. In the goal of attending so much of many retreats, it's not so much as being calm, but to get out of samsara. It's really, I just couldn't accept, because it's like going to extremes of existence and non-existence, that kind of perspective. So they will be disappointed if they had not a good retreat, and then feel very good when that's good, and because they say, oh, I'm reaching my goal soon, that kind of stuff. So,
Well, I think we are not trying to blame anybody who
yeah,
are
yeah,
organizing
no,
these
no,
things.
no.
Really, really great, appreciative stuff. But I think the purpose of a retreat, this idea of retreat is not Buddhist, right? It's a Christian idea. Retreat, you kind of like draw back and then what you call recharge. You recharge yourself and then come back again, right? This is the idea. It's like an idea come from the Christian church. Retreats, wellness retreats. So the idea should be from a retreat. I think it could be different from many people. Not everybody has the idea of attaining Nibbana. Some people might think, I want to have a calm, quiet time. I want to relax myself and calm down. There may be some others who might be very serious about attaining Nibbana. So we can't just say that there should be one purpose of the retreat. But anyways, all in all, it is a good idea. But this idea will bear fruit only when anybody, everyone, individually, personally looks at it as a place of gaining some knowledge, at the same time, some of the daily practices, and then to give more time for the reflection. Because reflection is very, very important. Because it is you who is going to reflect, not those people. All right. So, Artha Kilamatana Yoga, Kamasa Yoga, they are the two extremes of our spiritual path. As you said, yeah, some Brahmins, some ascetics, they held their breath till something happens to them. But we are going to look at it in today's life. In today's spiritual practices, there are people who are. Other side is Sila. Now you talk about retreat practice. Other very famous aspect of Artha Kilamatana Yoga is Sila. Why is it so? There are people who always think that if they are too much, if they are very strict about their precepts, of course, we have 5 precepts. You have 5 precepts: not killing, not stealing, not misbehaving, not lying, and not getting intoxicated. They are very important ones. Yes, but when you are doing such, you have to understand, how do I practice them? It is the intentional avoidance of these 5. It's not the mere avoidance. So you understand you are practicing Sila because you want to go to Samadhi. Right? And you are practicing Samadhi because you want to go to Panya. Right? So this understanding has to be there. Otherwise, if you only practice, okay, I'm avoiding this, and that, and then that will create you a sort of a Sila only perspective. That will take you to Artha Kilamatana. That is where we understand that a lot of devotees, they think when it comes to Sila, you can't do that, you can't do that. I think it's a self-discipline, not that you say you can't do this, you have to do this way, that way. We don't have rules. We don't have actually rules. We have self-discipline, right? We need self-discipline for the monks, nuns, at the same time, lay people. But as time goes on, we are kind of distancing from Samadhi. We are highly distancing from Sampanya. We are only focused on the Sila practice. Right? This is kind of an issue. We need Sila, but we should not end up in the Sila. Now let's move on to our Sutta part over here. Now we discuss about Dhammacakkappavattana Yoga, Artha Kilamatana Yoga here. And then we discuss Majjhima Patipada. Now Majjhima Patipada, in this Majjhima Patipada section, we discuss about what is Samma Ditti, Samma Sankappa, Samma Vacha, Samma Kammanta, Samma Ajiva, Samma Vayam, Samma Sati, Samma Sama. So we primarily discuss all the details of each noble path factor, and we said that each noble path factor is supported by three another noble path factors. What are they? What are those three noble path factors that are supportive to all the other
Right
noble
view,
path factors?
Right view,
right
right
view, effort, and right mindfulness.
Give me an example. Let's take Samadhi. Let's say Samma Vacha. Now, how do those three supportive factors help someone to practice Samma Vacha? I'm asking, how are those three, because we understand three noble path factors, as you said, Samadhi, Samma Vayama, Samma Sati are always, they should be used to practice each noble path factor. So, give me an example. Let's take Samma Vacha. Kim, you want to try?
No,
Okay.
I give Sister Eliana a chance.
Oh, don't pass back anything to anybody.
Sorry.
Okay. Okay. If you cannot answer this question, I understand you have not been able to understand what we discussed for 6 months already. Yes.
Maybe when we practice right speech, like we do not do the lying, gossiping, harsh thought, harsh speech, and the other one is slandering. The basic of avoiding these four practice is because of our intention, the right view in doing it is to cut our is to avoid the akusala in the practice of the noble eightfold path, and I mean to in the practice in the daily life. So we need the right effort. From the right view, we need the right effort whenever when we know that this practice will lead to nibbana, and from the right effort only when we do the meditation, we'll have right mindfulness, samasati. Can we say it like that, Bhante?
Yeah, almost there. If we can make it more simple, very simple. Let's make it very simple. Very simple. Anybody else?
Your question again, one more time.
All right. My question is a very simple one. Actually, it is the practice of the Noble Eightfold Path, which we all are supposed to practice. Now we know that there are 8 Noble Path factors, right? Noble Eightfold Path. The Buddha says that in order for us to practice the Noble Eightfold Path, then each Noble Path factor, Samadhi or Sammasankappa, Samma Vacha, Samma Kammanta, Samma Ajiva, Samma Vayama, Samma Sati, Samma Samadhi. Each noble path factor must be practiced with another 3 noble path factors that should happen to all the 8 noble path factors. Let's say if you practice Samadhi, you must practice Samadhi along with Samadhi, Samma Vayama, Samma. If you want to practice Samma Sankappa, that's second level. Again, you need Samadhi, Samma Vayama, Samma. If you want to practice Samma Vacha, again you need
Samadhi.
Samma Vacha along with Samadhi, Samma Vayama, Samma. If you want to practice Samma Kammanta, you have to practice Samma Kammanta along with Samadhi, Samma Vayama, Samma. If you want to practice Samma Sati, even Samma Sati, you must practice Samma Sati along with Samma Ditti, Samma Vayama, Samma. Now I'm asking, give me an example. Let's take Samma Vacha, the same example. That's Aliya answer. Give me an example in like how do we do it?
I try. That means if you want to, Samavaja is right speech, right? So before you say something, you must view it first. That means you must view,
There you go. Yes.
you must view it before you say it. So that's why
Mhm.
you have to practice together. Always the right view comes first. Samadhi.
Okay. And then,
Almost is it? Almost is it?
yeah, but then we have to go more. Now you explain the samadhi part. Then what about the other two?
So like before you say something, you must see something, you must view it as to why you want to say
Yeah, now
that.
we already view it. Let's say now we already view it. Now,
Okay.
what is up next?
Then you don't say it. You don't
Okay. Yes.
simply sama wajah it, you must say the right thing. Because
Okay.
you know, you see. Pasanto janato. What?
Oh,
Janato
okay.
pasanto.
You are
Right?
going more than samadhi. Okay. Okay. Now let's say we understand. Now this is bad speech. Now then is this the only thing we can do to practice samavacha?
Bhante, is it
Where is samavayam? Where is sammasati? Now you have to bring those two also to the practice.
I'm stuck.
You are stuck. Okay, we don't want you to get stuck actually. Okay. Yes, Kelvin?
Bhante, is it the understood, abandoned, realized, developed one?
No, that is for the whole noble truth. Each noble truth has noble truth, not noble path factor. That is the bigger practice actually. Now, in order to practice each noble path factor, we are talking about the fourth noble truth, fourth one. Then each noble path factor has to be practiced along with three supportive factors. Okay, let me tell you, otherwise we are kind of spending more time for this. Sammavacha. Now, what is sammavacha? Right speech. What is right speech? Speaking the truth.
No
Then,
lie.
yeah, speaking the truth means no lying. Huh? And then
No slandering.
uniting people is sammavacha, not like saying anything to bring people to division, right? And then third one is speaking kind, pleasant words all the time. And the fourth one is you are speaking very important, beneficial, kind words. You are not gossiping. Now this is samma vacha. Micha vacha, lying, slandering, or talking behind the back, or divisive speech, and harsh speech, and then gossiping or idle chatting. Now, how do I know this? How do I know good from the bad, bad from the good? How? How do I know it? Samadhi. You can simply say, through samadhi, I can separate good from the bad, bad from the good. Simple answer. That's the first thing, right?
Yes.
Even I'm going to talk, I'm going to act, I'm going to do anything. I have to first sort out, right? Let's say you want to think about something. The first thing you have to do is organize your thoughts. You don't simply think, right? Oh, I have to organize my thoughts. Otherwise, I can't do the speech very well. Organize. I mean, that organizing part, sorting out is what you call by samadhi. Just because I organize my speech, I would say I selected good speech from the bad speech. Is it enough? It is not. Then I need some effort to do that practice. Let's say, I think most people in this society, in the world, most of them know this is bad and this is good. Most of them, I mean, general good and bad. But if you look at people who done that, that very terrible fraud and who done that terrible bad things, you can see the educated folks, good people too, right? They are not like terrible, uneducated people all the time. There are those of them too. Why they do it? It is because although they know it, but they cannot see them at the time. Janato pas. So that means they have not enough effort that you can put into the right timing when they are doing that bad or good thing. Let's say you know that this is good, this is a good speech, then I need some energy to maintain that thought. Maintain consistently of that thought. Isn't it? Do we need that right effort? You will need. Now let's say I know bad from the good, good from the bad. I have lots of energy, good energy, right effort. Is it sufficient?
No.
Is it sufficient to practice each noble, let's say, Samma Vacha practice? No. What else do I need?
Mindfulness.
Mindfulness, Samma Sati. Why do I need Samma Sati? If I know good from the bad, good speech from the bad speech, or bad speech from the good speech, if I have lots of right effort, then why do I need Samma Sati? How do I know that the different circumstances, different situations for me
Yes.
to practice Samma Vacha? Let's say now in your house, let's say two people are trying to badmouth each other, right? Now you this is a moment I have to practice Samma Vacha. In particular moment, this particular moment, people are talking, gossiping here. People are idle chatting. People are using bad words each other. How do I know? Through Samma Sati, you bring that practice of Samma Vacha along with Samma Vaya. Now let's take another example. What about Samma, what do you call Samma Ajiva? Samma Ajiva. Samma Ajiva means?
Right living.
Huh?
Right
Right,
living. Living.
Right,
living.
living. Now let's
Living, living.
let's ask somebody, give an example of how we do it in our life. Samma Ajiva. Through these three.
Marketing. Wrong marketing. Wrong marketing
Samma,
to gain
Samma
something.
Ajiva is our living should be free from cheating other people, right? Cheating oneself and other people. But now when we are going to practice it, we have to use again those three path factors: Sammaditi, Samma Vayam, Samma. Now, can somebody tell me with an example of how those three help somebody to practice Samma Ajiva, like Samma Vacha? First, I have to understand what is right living from the wrong living, right? Like what we did from right speech from the wrong speech. First, understand that living, that right perspective should be there. Second, now what should I do? Now I already know this is wrong living, this is right living. What should I do now?
My actions has to be right.
Now I know this is the proper way to practice right living. Now I'm not cheating on anybody. I have spirituality in terms of my living. Now I need some effort to put that understanding into my practice. Then after that,
to know the difference between what is right and
then you have to
wrong.
use Samma Sati. Why do you have to use Samma Sati? Somebody is bribing you, bribe, kind of a bribe, mental bribing, physical bribing. How do you know this is bad? Samma Sati, you have to bring Samma Sati to understand, no, I have to hang on to my Samma Ajiva practice. Because Samma Sati is our supervisor. He or she is our supervisor. Just because I know good from the bad, just because I know I have to put some effort, but our practice of each noble path factor does not bear fruit. Why is it? Because if I don't know where is the right place to bring my each noble path factor practice, without sati, you can't do that. Now let me ask you, are the people who are talking about mindfulness everywhere in the world talk about right mindfulness this way? That right mindfulness has to use for each noble path factor, or they just talk about mindfulness as separate practice?
I think they talk about it separate.
As a separate practice. Even the Buddhist teachers. This is the problem. Right? Mindfulness has to be particularly brought up to these 8 noble path factors. Otherwise, you are not able to practice it. So it is not just a standalone practice, not a separated practice. All right. Now let's take another example. Let's take Samma Sati. Now let's take Samma Sati practice. Now, how do we use those 3 path factors into Samma Sati practice? Example.
Did you say Sama Vayama? Yeah, Vayamo?
Samma Sati. Now let's say we want to practice Samma Sati. Samma
Oh.
Sati. Now, in order for us to practice Samma Sati, all you know that we have to bring those 3 supportive path factors again here, right? Samma Ditti, Samma Vayam, Samma Sati also. That means in order to practice Samma Sati, you also need Samma Sati. Right? Like Samma Ditti. In order for you to practice Samma Ditti, you need Samma Ditti, Samma Vayam, Samma Sati. Now, can anybody tell me how do we use these 3 supportive path factors for Samma Sati? We can ask other folks over here. Kelvin, any thoughts? We are doing the final review today. So last time to talk about all these things. Right. Now let's say you want to practice Samma Sati. Very good thing, right? Right mindfulness. So the Buddha says we cannot practice Samma Sati without those 3. Again, those 3. Samma Ditti, Samma Vayam, Samma Sati. How do we practice Samma Sati with the support of these 3? First thing is you have to understand what is right mindfulness and what is wrong mindfulness. Is there a wrong mindfulness? That means we have to ask people, I want to be mindful. Is it wrong or good one? Is it good mindful, right mindfulness or wrong mindfulness? What is wrong mindfulness? Who are practicing wrong mindfulness? Who are practicing wrong mindfulness? Huh? What about those people who are planning, master planning to destroy somebody for many years? Huh? They are very mindful to know how to do the bad thing. Plan. Their ulterior motive is to put somebody down. That is mindfulness too, but it is wrong mind. Miccha Sati. Then we have to first understand what is Samma Sati from Miccha Sati. How do we do that? Through the support of Samma Ditti. If somebody just want to say, I want to practice mindfulness, that means that person does not have Samma Ditti part. He simply think, okay, I want to go to a mindfulness retreat. But which mindfulness retreat? Is it right mindfulness or wrong mindfulness? I don't know, but it's just mindfulness retreat, right? So wrong mindfulness means you are practicing
Wrong plan.
not the mindfulness practice which the Buddha talked about. The Buddha said right mind. Now let's say we understand right mindfulness is none other than Satipatthanas. Kayanupassana, Vedananupassana, Chittanupassana, Dhammacakkappavattana. Now, what is up next? Is just a mere understanding of the 4 Satipatthanas to be the Samma Sati enough for us to practice Samma Sati?
Not enough.
Not enough. Then what is lacking?
Put in the effort.
Put in the effort, bringing
Right
effort.
effort.
For what?
Right effort.
Practice.
Because wrong mindfulness always keeps coming.
Yes.
So we have to put it down and bring right mindfulness. So we need some effort for
The right mindfulness.
We need some effort for that. Just because you have effort, now you separate out, you sort out your mindfulness from wrong to right, right to wrong. Now, will you be able to practice Samma Sati?
No.
Then what is lacking?
We need Samma Sati to
You
constantly.
Again, we need a certain
yeah.
again we need a
balance.
certain level of Samma Sati to understand even Samma Sati.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like check and balance, check and balance.
Check and balance.
Yeah.
like what the Buddha did to Nanda, right? You know, Nanda was his I
Cousin
think one of his
brother.
cousin brother. What happened to him? He was going to marry
Yes,
uh,
yes.
his girlfriend, Janapada Kalya.
Mm.
So Buddha did a kind of a very bizarre thing at this point. He went for the dana in his palace. But there's a nuptial wedding was going on. Now they gave a dana to the Buddha. After the dana, Nanda was going to give back the bowl, alms bowl, the patta. Buddha did not take it. Now Nanda has to be with Janapada Kalyani, his girlfriend who's going to be married. But Buddha did not, because Buddha did not take it, he had to follow the Buddha to the temple. Then Janapada Kalyani was a little upset about it because she's expecting the marriage and everything. And then he is not here, right? Then she said, before this mark is going to dry out, you should come back soon. Go to the temple, come back soon. But when Nanda went to the temple, Buddha asked a very weird, I think can't say the weird question. It's a different question. Do you want to become a monk? Then he couldn't say no, because he cannot say no to the Buddha. The problem is that question. How come you're going to ask a question from somebody who's going to marry? And then asking question, do you want to marry? So, do you want to become a monk? And then he said, yes. On the same day, he became a monk. But he couldn't concentrate because he's thinking about his wife becoming a girlfriend. In a way, it's kind of little not good. On the other hand, Buddha had a greater purpose. Maybe he had a greater purpose. I think this is not going to be okay in today's world. But what happened, now the point about Samma Sati to Samma Sati, Samma Ditti to Samma Ditti, Samma Vayama to Samma Vayama comes from a kind of a theory where Buddha used raga, lust, one lust to overcome another lust. How he did that? Then one day, after a couple of days, Buddha saw he is not concentrating. Of course, he can't concentrate. This was not what he expected. He said, okay, I will take you to one heaven. On the way, then they saw a female monkey who died for whatever the reason, and they saw, and then Buddha took him to the heaven, whatever the heaven could be, Tavat inside. And then he saw the female Devasa, and then he was very happy by seeing them. And then Buddha said, which one do you want, Janapada Kalyani or these female Devas? Oh, Janapada Kalyani is like the female monkey who passed away, who had passed away on the way that we saw. Okay, if you want one of them, practice meditation. It's a little bizarre actually. And then what happened was that he practiced meditation for that purpose. Then finally he attained Nibbana. So one lust for another lust. Not going to work for many, but he used that. In the same way, Samma Sati to Samma Sati, Samma Vayama to Samma Vayama, Samma Ditti to Samma. You know, the story can give us a kind of a very strange understanding about whether the Buddha respected his marriage or not, but it was given in that way. So we had to understand according to time. We might not be able to justify it in today's world because in today's world we see it a little differently. But anyways, it was how that happened. So we need Samma Sati, some Samma Sati to see. Let's say you have Samma Sati, but you should know where I am going to bring that practice to. If you don't know the proper timing, proper circumstance, then you are not going to practice it. Have you seen some people who are very good in their studies, but in the examination, they screw up? Why is it? They are better than everybody. But there are other people who are not that genius. They pass the exam very well.
They cannot concentrate.
No, writing the exam is a different skill.
Yeah. For
It is
panic.
a different skill.
Mm,
Writing
mm,
the exam is a technique. Although you have the knowledge, if you cannot write it
Yeah.
properly
Mm.
during the certain time framework,
mm,
writing, handwriting, and then that mindset, it's a different experience.
Yeah.
I mean, not to everybody, most of us. So in the same way, just because you are knowledgeable, that doesn't guarantee that
Mm,
you will do well in certain situations. That's why it is said, although you know that
Mm.
Sammaditi is like, Sammasati is like this from Michasati, although you have effort, but in the actual timing, you may not be able to practice it properly because you don't know how to do it. That is why we also need another level of Sammasati to practice Sammasati. Let's take Samma Samadhi, the last one. What is Samma Samadhi?
Concentration.
Right, not concentration, huh? Right concentration. People can be concentrated by listening to a song, huh? Watching something, thinking about a memory, they can be concentrated. It is not that concentration.
Right concentration.
Right concentration. You may have heard another Pali word called Ekaggata. Ekaggata. Remember this word?
Yeah.
Very famous word. Huh? Ekaggata.
One-pointedness.
Ekaggata. I think you can remember that word. Ekaggata means one-pointedness. In the Abhidhamma studies, it says Ekaggata can be good or bad. Good Ekaggata or bad Ekaggata. That means just because our mind becomes concentrated, you cannot say that that concentration is wholesome. In order for someone to do a bad thing, also that person needs some level of concentration. Right? So good Ekaggata is
Concentration.
Samma Samadhi. Then bad Ekaggata is Miccha Samadhi. Now let's talk about how does someone practice Samma Samadhi along with Samma Ditti, Samma Vayama, Samma Sati. Can anybody tell me how do we do that? What's going on here? How do we practice Samma Samadhi along with the three supportive factors? No, those three things are Samadhi, Samma Vayam, Samma Sati. So how do we practice Samma Samadhi with these three?
We have to analyze whether it's right.
First, we have to sort out whether this is Samma Samadhi or Miccha Samadhi. Maybe separate out Samma Samadhi from Miccha Samadhi. Or understand Samma Samadhi from Miccha Samadhi, or Miccha Samadhi from Samma. Now, what are we going to do after that?
Then we practice the Samma Samadhi more.
No, that's not what that's not how we discuss it. Then we need Samma Vayam. You have to bring those three things to the practice. Then we need some effort, right effort. Actually, what is right effort? What is right effort, Dhammacakkappavattana?
Practice.
Like you already forgotten all the things.
Practice.
No, right effort we discussed in pretty clear words. We said it's like a gardening project. We have to prevent non-existing akusala states of mind. We have to remove existing akusala states of the mind. Then we have to create kusalas that have not yet arisen. Then we have to deepen, maintain kusalas that have already been with us. Samma Vayam has 4 aspects. Now we have to bring these 4 to practice Samma Samadhi. Why? Because in order for you to practice Samma Samadhi, or whatever the other noble path factor, you need these 4. Right? Now, how do we connect it to Samma Samadhi? Now, Samma Samadhi, what is Samma Samadhi? What is Miccha Samadhi? Now, what is Miccha Samadhi? The Buddha says Miccha Samadhi is if you practice meditation only to gain a jhana and you are not going to shift your perspective of calmness into vipassana, I would say becoming at least a sotapanna, that means your concentration is merely focused on attaining jhanas. That is Miccha Samadhi into practice. It doesn't say samatha is bad. Samatha is good to start, but somewhere in your samatha practice, you have to shift into the vipassana. That is samma samadhi. But let's say you are not shifting into vipassana, what will happen to you? Then you are merely liking samadhi, just bliss of your mind. That bliss of the mind is very temporary. It can stay, it can go. Pretty bad. So that's what the Hindu tapas is doing. They only go for the, what you call, jhanas. So these jhanas have to be superseded by shifting jhanas into vipassana. That is where you're going to practice samma samadhi. Now, samma samadhi is clear. Now I'm asking, yes, now we have to separate out samma samadhi from miccha samadhi or miccha samadhi from samma samadhi. Then we have to bring samma vayama, right effort. Now, is it sufficient for us to practice samma samadhi?
Mindfulness.
We need, in order for you to practice samma samadhi, also you need samma sati. How? How does samma sati help the practice of samma samadhi? That means you need mindfulness, right? Mindfulness to stay on to that practice. Otherwise, your mind will go here, 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 here. That means it will be shaky. In order for you to stay onto that practice, you need right mindfulness. In order for you to hang on to, stay on to any of the noble path factor, you need samma sati as the final goal. All right, I think we talk a lot about it because I think this is the cream of the sutta. If you don't understand these aspects, I would say these important aspects of the practice, you are not going to practice it anytime, not anytime sooner. Okay, so anyways, any questions about these 7, 8? And then we're going to go to the rest of the sutta. Okay, one last question about these 8. How do we practice samadhi along with the 3 supportive factors? How do we practice samadhi along with the 3 supportive factors?
Right or wrong understanding.
Yeah, how do we practice it?
Right view comes from listening to Dhamma.
No. I'm not asking what is right view. How do we practice right view? We know right view. Right view is the understanding of the Four Noble Truths at a certain high level. And we have 10 other mundane type of right view. I'm asking, now we know it. How do we practice it? What is the practice? The practice includes 3 things. Samma Ditti again, Samma Vayam, Samma Sati. So how do we practice Samma Ditti along with these 3 supportive factors?
We have to understand which is the right understanding and which is the wrong understanding first.
In order for us to understand right from the wrong, right view from the wrong, we still need right view. Make sense? And then just because we understand the difference between right to wrong, is it sufficient for us to go to the fuller practice of right view? What else do we need?
Samma Vayamo.
How does Samma Vayam help us, me, or you personally develop Samadhi? Now take one example. Thinking my mother is a special person. Thinking my father is a special person they are 2 things of my Samadhi practice. Now, Just because I think that they are special people, can I treat them as special people? Aren't there any things that I can do to them? Yes, there are a lot of things I can do to them before they pass away. After they pass away, you would do a dana. But before they pass away, you can do a lot of things to them. Take care of them, give lots of love to them, feel that they are okay, they are well taken care of. So then I need Samma Vayama to keep those wholesome thoughts. Otherwise, I can't do it. Some people are tired of treating them, right? It's not enough for me, right? Issues with other siblings and all that, not problems. Money issues. But whatever happens from other people, whatever happens from my siblings, whatever happens from my financial side, I'm still going to do that. I stay on to my Samma Vaya because I know that I have to take care of it. Maybe done, maybe other things. Because I took mother and father because I know that all you respect your mother and father because you have only one mother, one father. Maybe they're already gone. Some people's parents might be still living. So you keep that mentality. That means you need Samma Vayama to maintain that perspective. Then, now you separate out. You need another Sammaditthi to understand Sammaditthi. And then you have Samma Vayama. You have proper effort, right effort. Now,
Sati.
you need sati, samma sati. Why do I need samma sati? I need to particularly understand at which time, under which circumstance, I am going to practice samadhi. Because there are different circumstances, timing, occasions, moments that I have to understand. This is the good point that I can practice samma ditti. Let's say you are in a very terrible situation. Your friends, all friends are talking lies. They are telling lies. They are each other passing lies to each other. Now you know, this is micha vacha. And then now I have to have some effort not to fall into this group of people, not to engage in this conversation. Then I have to have some mindfulness so that I'm not also contributing to, these lies and not becoming a liar with them. So it's kind of a very fuller practice. Okay, makes sense? That is what we understand by the Noble Eightfold Path. Now let's go over the sutta. Then we discuss about the first noble truth under different categories, and the second noble truth, third noble truth, and fourth noble truth. And here we came to Dhammacakka. Now, Dhammacakka, we said there are two ideas. One is the wheel of the Dhamma, the other one is 3 perspectives and 12 aspects. This perspective, right? That means we highlighted that why we only understand the noble truths as a knowledge. It is because we have not practiced these 3 in order to understand the noble truths. That means we may have a mere knowledge about it. We have to understand that we need to have a certain role for each noble truth. Now here, to fully understand, second noble truth is regarding to fully abandon. The third noble truth is to realize. The fourth noble truth to be developed. So this is the role that we have to play for each noble truth. Now, as the third level of each noble truth, we understand it is the sense of completion of each noble truth. I fully already understood. I fully abandoned. I fully realized. I fully developed. So that means knowledge, role, sense of completion. 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 So these 3 are what we call by Ti-Ratana. Call it Ti-Ratana, right? And then when you see the Ti-Ratana multiplied by 4 noble truths, you get what you are getting. You are getting 12
Aspects.
12 perspectives. Ti-Ratana, Dwadasakara. You get that. So please treat this as the essence of the sutta. Now, treating this as the essence of the sutta, you need to understand, the Noble Eightfold Path is always supported by 3 supportive factors for each Noble Path practice. Those 2 are the most important facets of the sutta so far. Now, let's go over to the next. And then we discuss that here at this point, here, Venerable Kondanya becomes a Sotapanna, right? We discussed about it. He became a Sotapanna. But other ascetics could not become Sotapanna because of their inadequate experience, understanding of the sutta. And then what happened? There was a particular cry that was issued from the human world onto the Deva worlds. And it went from one Deva world to the next Deva world. What are Deva worlds? Chatum Maharajika, Yama, Tavatinsa, Tusita, Nimmana Rati, Paranimita Vasavati. And then what happened? Was the cry stopped at the Deva level? No. When the cry was gone to the last heaven, Paranimita Vasavati, the first Brahma world overheard that. You can't say they eavesdropped, but they heard it. That means if you go to Paranimita Vasavati and made a cry, they can hear too. Because they are neighbors. Right? You go here at this point, you can see 16 Brahma worlds. You can see here. Paranimita Vasavati nan Devanan Saddam Sutva Brahma Karika Deva. They are these one. Brahma Parisajya, Brahma Purohita, Maha Brahma, Paritraba, Appamanaba, Abasara, Parit. These are the Brahma worlds. So the cry went up to these 16 Brahma worlds. All right. And finally, what happened? Venerable Konanya, Sotapatti was once again made sure at the end of this. This is the gist of the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. But we took 6 months to talk about it because I feel like even after talking this for 6 months, still you are trying to catch up with certain areas. That means it's worth doing for 6 months. So I mean, I have no regrets about it. Yes. Okay, before you have any questions, I'm gonna tell you something else. We will be taking as the next sutta as the Sabbasava Sutta, which I discussed with retreat people on September 2nd at Ti-Ratana Vihara. I think I could not discuss everything in detail, so I'm going to detail this sutta. Here, if you can go to the block over here. You can see. I already made the text. It's not my translation, Ajahn Tanisara's translation. I thought it's good, but there are issues I'm gonna tell you. And this is really interesting. You can see those 7 ways, this picture. And then we will be going to the text over here. Okay. Sabbasava Sutta. Here is the Pali version, here is the English version. They didn't have any numbers, so I drew numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4. It keeps going. So we will be discussing Sabbasava Sutta as our next sutta for our study. So we will be discussing Sabbasava Sutta as the only sutta which talks about that there are 7 ways to overcome apusalas, kilesas. And it clearly says there's not only one way to use to overcome apusalas. Now, as Barbara mentioned, it's good to think about some retreats. Some people might think that, a sitting practice is only the way to overcome some of the apusalas. It helps, really helps, but there are many ways to overcome apusalas. Because, what is the reason? You can't train your thoughts in one way. You have to train your thoughts in multiple ways, different ways. Right? It is like if you take the wrong side of anything, can you satisfy your tongue in one way with the food? No. It needs a lot of taste, right? And then that is how we understand the mind, or I would say thoughts, cannot be trained in one way. the Buddha specifically talks about 7 ways to train our thoughts. So I think this is one of the very important suttas, probably the most important sutta about the methodology, the framework methodology of overcoming kusala states. And I want to tell you, next Friday, I have to postpone the day because I have an immediate thing I can't actually avoid. That means we are going to again meet on 22nd, September 22nd. It is a Friday, and 29th evening I'm leaving. It's a Friday to Sri Lanka, so we had to take these 2 days off. That means 15 and then 29. But 22nd we are meeting to start our Sabbasa Sutta. After 29, timing is pretty good, no problem. So we're going to continue all Fridays. Any questions about Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta? Of course, you must have questions because other 4 ascetics did not attend Sotapanna. Right? Of course, you must have questions, right? Only Anya Kondanja become a Sotapanna. Others could not. Then what about you?
Long way to go.
Long way to go, right? But it is not just the understanding. I mean, what are the things that you did not understand in our class in terms of Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta?
But I think today you gave a very good summary. You know, after all these many lessons, it's like mumble jumble, but today is really, really well summarized. I mean, I understood it very well, all the 3, you know, you must have samadhi, samavayamo, and then samasati. These are the 3 main things, 3 perspectives.
That is why I say it's a full review.
And whether it's worth the 6 months.
Yeah, you know, we had to take each day to understand different contexts. Finally, we combine them together. You know. In what do you call, in Abhidhamma, we have a wording called analysis. We analyze first, we dissect every part, dissect one by one. And then finally, what do? We're going to synthesize. Analysis, synthesis. That is the Abhidhamma way. So first we dissected each section, and then we are going to assemble everything together to show you this is what you have to understand. Full review is synthesis. So I think Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta is very important in this perspective. A lot of people, they only know that this was given to 5 ascetics, and Anya Kondanja, ascetic Anya Kondanja became a Sota. That's it. So today you can think about what you have learned so far, and now you have time to reflect or reflections. Right? It's very important. All right. Any more questions? We'll take 1 more minute. If not, we're going to.
But just like say, only one became Sotapanna. What about the rest of the 4, right?
Rest could not.
They could not
Could not.
do it.
Could not. It is not the Buddha's power. They should have some
They
potential to
still
become
practice
Sotapanna.
it.
No, they could not understand it to that level. Only Anya Kondanya understood. Because Anya Kondanya had a good impression about the Shakyamuni Buddha. You know why? When, Prince Siddhartha was born, Suddhodana's teacher, King Suddhodana's teacher, his name was Asita. He cried. He was happy and cried. The reason was that
He won't have time to see the Buddha.
Your son is going to be a Samma Sambuddha, but I will not be living by that time. So I cried. But the King Suddhodana asked 8 special Brahmins to come to his palace to do the Jati Mahotsava, name ceremony. In that name ceremony, all Brahmins said, either your son will become a Chakravartin king or become the Sammas. But one particular Brahmin said, no, he is going to be precisely the Samma Sambuddha. He is Kondan, this Anya Kondan. So he was impressed before he knew that this something would happen to him, for sure. I think that understanding, that impression led him to, navigate his mind into this Sotapanna thing. Right?
Mm.
That means you don't need prior Sotapannas to become a Sotapanna also, right? Because Konnanya didn't have any Sotapannas before him. He simply focused his mind on these aspects, these noble path factors, Tiparivatta, Dwadasakara. He penetrated, he reflected upon, so that he eventually became a Sotapanna.
Makes sense.
And there is another sutta Buddha gave to all these five called Anatta Lakkana Sutta.
Mm.
Right. Another
Yes.
sutta, a little bit deep sutta. What happened at the end? All they became arahants. Interesting, huh?
Yeah.
In one shot.
Mm.
In one try, they all became arahants. Anatta Lakkana Sutta. It's about reflecting on the, what do you call? Not self. We cannot take self
Mm.
as self, taking self as not.
Are we doing that?
Not in the near future, foreseeable future, but we will be. Now, you know, before we talk about the Nibbana, we had to go by the framework and all that. Gradually, you know, we had to go there. Yes.
So Bhante,
All right. Yes.
so Bhante, so after we have reflected, is the last step to practice and to put into action what we have reflected?
Reflection is your practice.
Oh, see?
Reflection itself is your practice. Because a
Oh,
lot of people, they are getting information, they are learning information. That's why I asked, I said to you in your as an answer to your question that they are getting information, but they don't have enough time for the practice. Practice is reflection. You reflect by yourself.
oh,
Am I doing this properly? Is this the proper? It's a mental transformation.
mm. But I thought
There's no practice other than reflection.
Oh, I thought practice is right action.
Yeah, right action itself. Right action is samma kamma. It is a part of the noble path factors.
Uh-huh.
Now, when you are practicing these 8 noble path factors, what you really need as a whole is reflection. Do I practice right view well? Do I practice right thought intention well? It leads to reflection. But do not be mistaken, it has to be overthinking. Some people overthink about everything.
Right.
Right? And most people pick up everything that is surrounding their environment. They pick up everything. So they cannot reflect. They pick up every sound, every word of everybody. When you pick up every word in your household, there are a lot of arguments happening. So you pick up everything. Like somebody who does music, huh? They are very sensitive to sound. Huh?
So it's not good.
It's
To
so
pick
good.
everything.
Why do we need to pick up everything around us?
So just pick what you want.
No, pick the wholesome, pick the necessary ones. Pick the necessary ones, necessary sight, necessary sound, necessary smell, necessary taste. You don't have to. Now, why did we get a low level of hertz, the sound range? Why the dogs have a very vast range of sound, 16,000 hertz? Why is it? Because dogs need that. So they can't even sleep. They pretend they are asleep, but they are sleeping.
Really?
Really?
Most of them, yeah. But humans, what if we get to hear all these sounds outside? The ghost
Then we
sound, deva sound, small sounds. Can we even sleep? So naturally, we have been given a body and the mind with certain limitations as humans. Then now we have to deal with whether we are going to pick up everything from outside, whether we take the right one and then reflect upon it. That is our practice. Okay. I think we have come to the end of our session today. If you have any more questions, please send me a message, and we are going to be meeting again on 22nd this month. Before that, we will be meeting for lunch.
Yeah,
For those
17.
of you, yes, 17 Sunday. So those of you, yeah, so we will think that way. Now we're going to transfer good karmas. May all the good karmas we have been accumulating throughout our latest discussions about the Sutta Dhammacakkappavattana. We've been discussing for 6 months. It's a long time. It's very interesting and very necessary for that kind of time to understand each part of the Sutta. May all these good karmas we've been creating throughout the discussion of the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, not even Dhammacakkappavattana. Before that, we've been discussing over 1 more year before that, different other suttas, Sigalovada Sutta, and 3 other suttas. May all these good karmas be transferred to all the departed ones who passed away in the name of all of us. May all the departed ones be well and happy. May they attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu. Idam me jnati nang hotu sukhita hotu jnatayo. Idam me jnati nang hotu sukhita hotu jnatayo. Idam me jnati nang hotu sukhita hotu jnatayo. May Devanaga Mahitika share all these good karmas. May they be well and happy. May they protect and bless all of you for good health, quality of life, prosperity, and safety. May Devanaga Mahitika finally attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu. Ettavatacha ammehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe deva anumodantu sabbasang patti siddhya. Ettavatacha ammehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabbasang patti siddhya. Ettavatacha ammehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe satta anumodantu sabbasang patti siddhya. Akasattha chibummattha devanaga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkhantu lokasasana. Akasattha chibummattha devanaga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkhantu desana. Akasattha chibummattha devanaga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva Chirang rakkhantu mang paranti, chirang rakkhantu mang sadati. May we be in the company of the Kalyana Mittras, noble friends, and not be in the company of the Papavittras. Thinking thus, we're going to make the wish. Imina punya kammene mami bala samagamu, satang samagamu hotu, yavanimbana pattiya. Finally, may all the good karmas which we have been accumulating throughout the time that we discussed the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta and even before, be supportive and helpful for all of us to attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu. Abhivadana Siddhisse Nichang Vaddha Pachayino Chattaru Dhamma Vaddhanti Ayuvanno Sukhang Balang Ayurarukya Sampatti Sagga Sampatti Mevacha Ato Nibbana Sampatti Iminati Samidunjato. Sadhu, sadhu. And one more thing to say, I think we've been discussing about a virtual retreat on the retreat day. Sister Hema suggested it's a wonderful idea. Yes, so we are still in the discussion level to pick a date and maybe suggest a couple of dates, and we will let you know in the foreseeable future, and then we can plan for that too. So we can then continue retreat. Right. So thank you, everyone. Have a good